Right, guys, welcome along. We are going to talk a little bit of Sima and a little bit of Hagi this morning. I also want to talk a little bit about the off-the-field stuff as well. Not the stadium rebuild and anything like that, or about the board. No, about the fitness side of things and a little bit of that of what's going on at the club. So I want to mention that a little bit. We'll be talking about Hagi, and we will be obviously hang on for that. That is upcoming in this video. Now, look, listening to Heart and Hand this morning, catching up on some podcasts whilst I was at work. Working retail, shit job, but hey, it pays the bills. I suppose, as bad as it is. But look, listening to Heart and Hand this morning, and David Edgar was talking about the fact that, there will be changes off the field. And he was talking about the fact that Philippe Clermont has promised a much tougher preseason. The preseason all about getting these players fit and keeping them fit and giving them the kind of toughness, the strength, the conditioning, the work they need to put them into a position where we're not going to suffer, hopefully, the depth of injury that we suffered throughout this season. Now, look, as much as there was a lot of other factors behind us not winning the league and the cup this season, the fact that we had a core leadership group in Tav, Goldson, Lundstrom and Barisic who were mentally weak, who were afraid of Celtic, were scared every time they saw that the green and white shirts of Celtic, and pretty much retreated into a kind of childlike cocoon of no, not them again. So there was that, of course. There was also, the fact that I think the squad just was not good enough. It did not have the depth, the strength there to compete, over that long period of competing, over a long period of the season on four fronts: League Cup, Scottish Cup, Europa League, and obviously as well the league title. As that was a definite thing. And look, the injuries did count. The injuries did hurt us. And as I said on a previous video, could you imagine going into that game at Ibrox on April the 7th, or that Parkhead game, with Danilo up front, with Cortez one side, Sima the other, and Campbell in the 10 role? I think it would have made a massive difference. I think the one thing we kind of really lacked going into the end of the season, from that March period onwards, when Cortez was down injured and Sima went down, already gone down injured, was we lacked speed, we lacked directness, we lacked the ability to really go at players. And I know Sima came back in that game in April and made a huge difference. But had we kept Sima and Cortez and Danilo fit and had them from March onwards all the way through to the end of the season, I think, you could have seen a very different outcome. And I think that, yes, still does over the fact that this squad is not good enough, and it obviously needs this major rebuild that is ongoing, hopefully over this summer. And there's a lot of players in this squad, the James Taverniers, Connor Goldsons, who are simply not good enough to play for this club anymore, need to be moved on. All true. But we are in a position where I think those injuries did hurt us. And I think, like I said, had we had Cortez one side, Sima the other, Danilo up front, Campbell in that 10 role, it would have made a massive difference going forward and towards the end of the season. It would have given us speed, it would have given us directness, it would have given us trickery, skills. I think it would have given us a much more clinical finish in front of goal. Cortez and Sima, both proved from wide they had an eye for a finish. And obviously Danilo, I think, he did miss chances, but I don't think he's anywhere near as bad as Cyril Dessers for missing, clear chances. Now, I'm not saying that Dessers was solely responsible for losing the league, but I think he was partly responsible because, yes, he scored 16 goals, I think it was, in the league. He didn't score 20 goals. A lot of fans are trying to get across. It was only 16. He missed an awful lot of sitters, an awful lot of easy chances that, had he put those away, could have added up to a lot more points for Rangers. The Ross County game, the Hearts game, the Parkhead game. He is pretty pish and I personally would want rid of him this summer. I do think Danilo would have been a much better option and would have taken a lot of those chances, and I think it would have put Rangers in a better position. But as they were saying on Heart and Hand this morning, there are going to be changes off the field, and there are going to be changes in terms of the fitness staff, the strength and conditioning staff. It's just you don't hear about it as much because it's not as big a news. If a manager's sacked, it's big news. If a assistant manager's sacked, it's big news. If a coach is sacked, it's news. If a strength and conditioning coach is sacked, nobody really knows. They change something in the medical department, nobody really knows. If a player's signed, we all hear about it. If a player's sold, released, whatever, we all hear about it. If they hire a new physio, who knows? Who cares realistically? But I think there are changes afoot off the field from what I'm hearing, from listening to David Edgar, Heart and Hand, and a lot of the club insiders, the guys in the know, the guys who have that ear into Ibrox. So I do think that there is an element of that within the club. So look, we're not going to hear as much, but there is clearly going to be changes. There is work being undertaken to get these players fit. And it's a massive part of this summer. And I think, biggest part obviously is bringing in the players, bringing in the new players, shipping out the deadwood like Tav and Goldson and players like that. But look, the other element that has to underpin all this work to provide the foundation, that the keystones of this squad for the push for next season is, the fitness work, the strength work, the conditioning work, the work to get these guys fit and ready to go for next season, so that we're not sat, having the same conversation next season at this point. Well, if we hadn't had X, Y, and Z injured, if W hadn't been out, if Z hadn't been out, then this game could have been different. We hadn't had to rely on this substandard striker, then this striker would have played. We don't need to be having those conversations. And I think the work that is currently been undertaken quite clearly from what we're hearing, in terms of rebuilding that fitness, that strength and conditioning. Obviously, that the guy that they brought in from Brighton, I think Taylor, his name was, I think that's a big part of it. He's overseeing the performance side of it. I think there are clear, massive changes afoot, and it's something that needs to be done at this club. We have had too long where we have suffered with just appalling luck with injuries and appalling, and I don't think it's luck. I think it's down to bad training methods. I think it's down to bad pre-season. I think it's down to just bad preparation, bad strength and conditioning. And I think those are things that Philippe Clement quite clearly wants to change and get right going into next season. It's massive. It's huge. It's as big a part, I think. And I think it's the underpinning, the foundation stones, the keystones of the rebuild of this club. Just wanted to, obviously, a quick aside. Congratulations to Ali McCoist and Graham Souness, who were both recognised in the King's Birthday Honours List. It was weird saying King's Birthdays Honours List. Got so used to saying, obviously, the Queen's Birthday Honours List. But a massive congratulations to Graham and Ali. Graham and Ali, Graham Souness, Ali McCoist, two of the reasons I kind of got into supporting Rangers, two of the legends of that revolution that came at the start of this club. Graham coming in obviously as manager, massive change, revolution. I was a massive Souness fan. Ali McCoist, the king, the Scotland's goal king, the man who used to put the ball on the back of the net on a regular basis for us, and a hero, an absolute hero. But has been a very funny man as well. But congratulations to both of them on their well-deserved awards in the King's Birthday Honours List. Well, let's talk a little bit about, first of all, Ianis Hagi, before we get on to some news about the Sima deal that is still being negotiated, allegedly, despite all the alleged links to these wingers across Europe. So Ianis Hagi is currently away with Romania as they obviously start their Euro 2024 title bid. I think they're obviously a realistic contender. I think you're obviously looking at France and Germany and Spain and Holland, England possibly, as being potential winners there. But, Ianis Hagi is obviously out with Romania. Romania did exceptionally well, qualifying without dropping a game, qualifying top of their qualifying group. And, that they're going in on a high, a real positive high going into this tournament. Now, Ianis Hagi is selected for Rangers. And what's actually selected for Romania, and it was announced obviously today that he is officially representing Rangers, which obviously means that we'll get any fee and money from the UEFA for Hagi will come to us, which is good news. It actually means that which is, I think, a real sad reflection on where we are as a club at this moment in time. That Ianis Hagi is actually Rangers' only representative at Euro 2024. Ryan Jack doesn't count because obviously he's no longer under contract to the club. So he is our only representative, and it kind of shows a little. I think it's sad, really. You guys know I don't like international football. I'm not a big fan of international football, but if you've got players who are internationals, it shows that you're doing something right, because those players are obviously very highly regarded, top in their profession, they're called up for their countries, etc., etc. And you look at this Euro Championships, and there's no Rangers players in the Scotland squad, no Rangers players in the England squad. There's no Rangers players in any of the other international squads. The only Rangers player, obviously, is Ianis Hagi, and he is the sole representative of Rangers. It's interesting, obviously, that that his registration has reverted to Rangers, but he is obviously choosing to be a Rangers player, happy to represent Rangers at the Euro 2024 Championships, by all account, from what Ianis has been saying. Look, I'm massively mixed on Ianis Hagi. Romania get underway, for those of you who are interested, against Ukraine on Monday at 2 o'clock. They then play Belgium, the group favourites, at 8 o'clock on Saturday the 22nd, before finishing off their group stage games on the 26th, against Slovakia. They've got to fancy their chances to qualify from that group. But look, Ianis Hagi, I've got mixed emotions on Ianis Hagi. I think, realistically, Ianis's days of playing in that 10 role are numbered. He's not quick enough for me. He's not speedy enough. And you look at the types of player that Clement wants to play in that 10 role, or wants to play in those forward roles. He wants quick, fast, attacking, strong players. You look at the players that we're apparently linked with, the players we have signed. Jeff Day's a big lad. He's quick. Cortez is quick. As well, so there is, a real determination, I think, to increase the speed up there, particularly in those attacking areas. And look, with the best will in the world, Ianis is a fantastic footballer. Don't get me wrong, technically brilliant, technical passing range is excellent. The way he distributes the ball is brilliant. Set pieces are very good, but he's not the fastest guy in the world. He's not particularly quick over the ground. I do think that Hagi could contribute in other areas, maybe even as an 8 or a 6. He's got the range of passing, the tackling is obviously something that will come. I do think, that there is possibly a role there, but obviously Philippe Clement will have to run his eye over it. And I think there's a lot of mixed messages coming from the Hagi camp. You've got his dad saying that he's staying at Rangers. You've got Hagi not committing either way, saying, it's down to his agents to organise, but he is obviously fully focused on Romania at this point. I think, personally speaking, I think it's starting to what I want to see is Clement have a look. I want Clement to have a look, to look at Ianis Hagi. He never got the opportunity to actually look at Ianis. I think there's been a little bit of history rewriting when it comes to Ianis Hagi, writing him up to be a better player than he potentially is. I think he is a very good player, don't get me wrong, but not as super talented as some of the fans have painted him to be. There's always that case, isn't there? I think when players, not at the club, there is a little bit of rewriting of history there. But for me, I really want to see Philippe Clement at least cast his eye over this player. Look at this player, decide whether this is the type of player that he can fit into his system, he can use in those. And I think for me, Hagi back to goal is not as effective as Hagi with the full pitch ahead of him. His strength is his distribution. His strength is his passing, his ability to use the ball. And I think if you can put him into a role, perhaps, in that 6 role where he's sat in front of the back 4, spraying passes everywhere, or in the 8 role or whatever, or as an option in those roles, that is, for me, more where you're going to get more out of Hagi than perhaps putting him in that 10 role where he's not really got the pace anymore, or the ability to go past someone and then leave them. One of the things that a modern 10 needs, as well as the range of passing and the ability to distribute the ball and to unlock defenses, is also the ability to run at players, to go past them and then kick on and leave them. And that's certainly something that Hagi hasn't really got in his locker. So I do, hope that Clement at least runs his eye over him and has the opportunity to. He still is under contract to Rangers. He's our player. It's our right to do that. So I do hope that Clement does run his eye over it. And look, I'm no expert. I trust Clement. I trust Clement's judgment on this one. Let him have a look. Let him have a look. See what we've got. So the latest on Abdallah Sima. Obviously, Brighton still without a manager. Lots of rumours obviously circulating as to who their next manager could be. Can't remember any names off the top of my head, but it seems that any deal for Abdallah Sima will now be put on hold till the end of pre-season. That is what is being currently reported from Brighton. They very much want to give their new manager the opportunity to judge the players on his books, to look at the players that he's got, to make his own decisions as regards these players. Now, we all know the Brighton model. The Brighton model is to buy cheap, sell high. You look at the players they've sold: Caicedo, Cucurella, Sanchez, Alexis McAllister, for example, just to name a few that they've kind of brought in, built up, and then sold. And I think they're hoping that with Sima, after that, pretty good season with us last season, despite the injuries, that they can then trade this guy for a big profit. Hence has been the talk of a substantial fee, but he has only got obviously a limited amount of time left on his present deal. But the report very much is that any deal for Sima will have to wait. So, it'll kind of, I think, depend very much for me on what Rangers do in and around this. If we can bring another couple of wingers and perhaps another centre forward, I think it's going to diminish the opportunity to bring in Abdallah Sima. The massive amount of this depends for me on what Brighton want in terms of transfer fee, because I honestly, as much as, the rumours or stories about 6 million for Rahmani, for, the 5 million that was allegedly going to be paid for Adejayi, showing the board have got money and do want to spend money. For me, there's still an uncertainty there that we have got a substantial amount of money, at least until we sell some of the players that are clogging up our books, to go out and actually buy players like Abdallah. You know my feelings on Abdallah. I'm absolutely perfectly clear on Abdallah. I love this player. I think he's great. I think he's fast. I think he's direct. He's a big lad. He scores goals. He's one of the best finishers we had at the club last season. I think had he stayed fit all season, again, it would have given us a great opportunity. I think he would have been the top scorer. He's a top player, and he has exactly what you need in a wide player, the ability to go at the opposition, to get past them and then go beyond them, which is what you need for wingers. But so, look, it's down to, for what is being said, it's down to the end of pre-season. I personally think that as long as this goes on and this transfer drama over Sima drags on, I think the less likely that Abdallah comes to the club. Now, we all know that Abdallah loves Glasgow. He loves Rangers. He loves playing for the club. He loves the fans. But I just feel, for me, the longer this drags on, the longer it goes on, the more likely Rangers are to sign other players, that perhaps the money won't be there, or the desire to wait. Clement has been clear that he wants the players in sooner rather than later. I think any delay will sort of affect that bringing in of Sima. Personally, like I said, I would love to see him coming in. If you ask me, put me on the spot, I would say the deal's dead. I don't see this going through now. I really don't, with obviously Brighton's change of manager and the delay till the end of pre-season in any signing for him. Well, guys, let me know what you think of the stories we've covered today in this video. It just depends when you picked it up. If you picked it up in the morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. Please obviously smash the sub, help the channel to keep on rising and growing in number. And on the way out, 2 things I always ask of you. 1, smash the like, beats the algorithm. And 2, remember always, we are the people.